In March of 1977, a film opened quietly in Paris, shot in the same hazy, soft-focus style as the world's most famous fashion photography. Critics couldn't agree if it was art or exploitation. Almost 40 years later, the answer would arrive in a form no one expected. This is Bilitis, the directorial debut of British-born photographer David Hamilton, the man behind the Hamilton blur, a visual style so influential it shaped decades of European fashion imagery and even echoed later in films like Picnic at Hanging Rock. By 1977, Hamilton wasn't just a photographer, he was a brand, and that brand was about to become a feature film. The project adapted Les Chansons de Bilitis, a 19th-century poem cycle by Pierre Louÿs, with a screenplay co-written by Catherine Breillat years before she became one of French cinema's most provocative directors in her own right. It was a multinational production, financed through French, German, and international partners, and cast an American actress, Patti D'Arbanville, in the title role. D'Arbanville was already a Warhol World veteran, the inspiration behind two Cat Stevens songs, and, notably, in her mid-20s at the time of filming an adult playing a teenager, through a lens built entirely around the illusion of youth. On the surface, Bilitis is a coming-of-age story. A girl at a French boarding school spends a summer discovering desire, identity, and the adult world she's not quite ready to enter, framed through Hamilton's signature dreamlike photography. But the controversy surrounding the film extended far beyond the story on screen. Released theatrically on 16 March 1977, the film became a genuine commercial success in Europe's arthouse-erotica market, spawning a companion photo book and cementing Hamilton's crossover from stills to cinema. Reviewers were split. Some called it visually masterful, others dismissed it as an extended photo shoot with a script attached. That argument would define Bilitis' reputation for the next 39 years, because the deeper controversy was never really about the film. It was about the man who made it. Hamilton's career had always rested on photographing very young models, and for decades, that was treated as an aesthetic choice debated, but rarely investigated. Later home video releases weren't immune either. The UK's 1987 cut trimmed roughly 25 seconds from the film to remove one especially troubling scene. Regulators, it turned out, had been quietly drawing lines around Hamilton's work for years. Then, in October 2016, French television host Flavie Flament published a memoir naming David Hamilton, alleging he had raped her in 1987 when she was 13 years old. She wasn't alone. In the weeks that followed, several more women came forward with similar accounts spanning years of his career. Days after the allegations became national news in France, David Hamilton was found dead at 83 in an apparent suicide. The debate that had followed Bilitis since 1977, art or exploitation, was no longer theoretical. Bilitis still exists as a footnote in film history, commercially significant, critically divided, and, in hindsight, impossible to separate from what came after. Its legacy was never really about a movie. It's about how long an industry can look directly at something and still choose to call it art, and what it costs the people caught inside that choice. If this collision of European art house cinema and hidden histories interests you, my deep dive into Catherine Breillat's own decades of controversy goes even further into that same uneasy territory. But there's one banned film whose fallout makes Bilitis look almost restrained. Click here to find out why it was pulled from theaters within 48 hours.